Today's message starts off with I'm sensing writer's block energy. Some of you could be experiencing some sort of block in your creative output or ability to move forward in some way. It's kind of being presented to me as a lot of pushing forward and now being stuck without the ability to push forward. I also get consumption being very important here as it relates, like maybe you're over consuming something or something in your intake daily is being highlighted and presented to me. So pay attention to all the things you're consuming. Maybe that'll come up again to give me more specifics, but it seems like a small warning for those who maybe know what I'm talking about. A side note is always check the descriptions for specifics. I put them there so I can get to the core of the message. Sometimes people don't like the complexities, and I'm a reader that is drawn to those complexities, unfortunately, but I'll leave every detail in the description that I pull for those who want them, and for those who don't, I will do my best to simplify in the reading for you. Going back to the consumption thread, I'm kind of being guided towards like sweets or sugar cravings, oddly enough. This is specific to every meal wanting that sweet balance. There's something here that spirit is kind of like guiding me towards, being that desire to balance with sweets is a imbalance being highlighted to you in some way. Like there's some sort of chakra imbalance as you continue to be pulled towards sweets after every meal. Whoever I'm talking to today has recently undergone something quite unique and what feels like pretty powerful. I'm getting the sense of stepping away from something or some sort of difficult decision you had to make that was different than your usual or your typical. As I said that, I channeled a specific life path number. I'll leave that in the description, so be sure to look that up to see if it resonates. This could also be more general to the number itself. Like I don't know if those I'm talking to are necessarily a life path 3, but I'm being presented with it, interestingly enough, as it ties into the south nodes in an astrological sense. So what I'm getting here is that siblings, family dynamics are very critical to your evolution in some way. I'm being presented it as almost like extremes, like the youngest, the oldest, or no siblings at all. It's not that middle children aren't meant for this reading if you are a middle child, but I do think that there is a gray area here that might be clarified with that. But for now, I don't see middle children coming up. I only am being presented with the extremes in sibling dynamics as some sort of karmic cycle that you're concluding. I think what I'm being guided towards here with these extremes is that there's a karmic lesson that's being unfolded through sibling dynamics or through familial ties in some way. And it's very critical to your life path, but also where you're at right now and where you're going. I see this being something where your siblings either cause you friction in some way, and there's a reason for that I'll lay out, or they are a very important stabilizing force in your life on the opposite end, like where everything else isn't stable and they are, and there's a reason for that as well. But interestingly, if you have no siblings, the extreme here is essentially like what feels like a reckoning that comes through the lessons alone without those forces. The karmic task for those without siblings is very interesting because it's learning those dynamics through other people, friends, partners, coworkers, which kind of ties into why relationships can feel heavier than average for those particular types. Now, going back to the writer's block theme, it feels very directly tied or connected to siblings or this familial or ancestral tied contrast. Family is just very, very critical here. I recognize that those sound unrelated, like writer's block and ancestral ties, but there is a shift here from you that either directly consumed their important role or resisted it in some way that's activating these long ancestral threads that maybe you weren't even consciously aware of that you had. They're much deeper than the surface level lessons that you're facing. This is much more energetic. It seems some sort of long karmic contract is being disrupted through your lifetime. So this lifetime is very important. This seems like a big deal too, because in many previous lives, you've kind of been trapped and freeing yourself is really, really disorienting, especially because you haven't done it prior. So your soul doesn't recognize the disorientation behind what free really means. And it's blocking a lot of movement, which is being tied into that writer's block feeling. And this doesn't have to be literal writer's block. It's just more so that trapped or unmoving feeling is directly connected to the ancestral ties you're breaking. There's something about the sibling contrast or the ancestral tie that is very heavily tied to your spiritual evolution as a soul. There were deep lessons, threaded lessons that you have carried. It could really be foundational level healing that you're undergoing, and it's healing deep worth wounds I'm seeing, or like the burdens that you've carried for others in your bloodline. And that has caused the heaviest weight that you couldn't really ever articulate in your life. Like you were kind of born with this weight that you could never explain. It's because you were carrying this burden in your bloodline that you were meant to dismantle in this life. It's why it's very heavy. It's why this life is full of a lot of friction that you can't really explain or articulate, and it doesn't really make sense. And this is kind of the pivot moment I'm seeing, is like breaking those ties and shedding that weight. And that's why nothing's moving forward and everything is very still. This writer's block, this theme of, okay, what do I do? I'm really not moving forward, is really because you're shedding this like ancestral weight that's very, very heavy. Shifting gears to a new energy now of an observing energy. There's something that's coming to play with this deep inner work that you're doing, this foundational level healing. There's a huge shift that is happening within your magnetic field that you can't really see, but I sense you speculate it. But it's also at the same time disorienting. So you're a little bit unsure if you're just like making this up in your head or not. I see definitely a lot of like confusion. Like there's a part of you that instinctively is aware, okay, this is different. This is nothing I've ever experienced. I know that. But then you're also unsure. So it's disorienting. There's a big energetic ripple from this. I sense family members feel it from you specifically, but there's also outside energies here too that you either don't know or that you do know that can feel this evolution because it's so gravitational. It's so magnetic. These ancestral ties are not a joke. This is huge shifting. There's someone here who's really close and they're closely observing you, but doing so from like a safe, far distance. It feels like secretive energy about it because they're very protective and introverted. This is the type that is a very observing energy because of how close they keep things to themselves. I don't sense you paying much attention to this, as you seem really focused on this writer's block type of energy that I mentioned is like the main stuck energy you're feeling at this time. There's lots of frustration or focus that's being exerted there. So you're not really focused on observational energies necessarily. But this person kind of feels you're different in many ways, probably from the gravitational energy I'm mentioning, because people don't break ancestral ties every day. This is not a common thing. This is something very unique and has its own energetic tone. I don't know if this is a new or old energy. It can honestly go both ways, but I think this person subconsciously senses what you're undergoing is insanely powerful work by breaking these ancestral contracts. And again, this is not something that people see every day or feel or even have the ability to feel. So it's kind of lighting up your field in a very specific way that that a very select few are able to sense. This person might not even be aware that this is the reason they're drawn to you, but you could have someone you might feel is observing your energy at this time. Like you could instinctively know that as I mention it. The reason you're observing them too and questioning them or can feel them as I'm talking about them is they feel the exact same way to you. Like they're asking, why am I so interested in this person? Why do I even care? And there's kind of like a similar tone to your energy as well. This is giving neighbor vibes, only because it feels personal, like they're around your routine space. I'm being kind of like shown a neighbor who leaves their door open, oddly, just to try to catch you in your routine or in your space, in your sacred space. It's very specific, obviously, but I think it's symbolizing that they aren't actively moving towards you, but they are open and showing that to you in some energetic or literal sense somehow. So an open door to their sacral space, even though they're quite secretive or hidden, they're trying in some way, even if it's not actively approaching you. There's a couple things coming up now. Not necessarily a prediction, but just where your energy seems to be transitioning towards. There's a really big energetic shift I can't stress enough for you that's going on. And a lot of new energies are going to be popping up if they haven't already, because your energy is very highly magnetic as you break these ancestral weights that have pulled you down for many lifetimes, especially in this lifetime. I sense that the beginning of this life may have been really foggy, hazy, hard for no apparent reason. It's because you were building up to this threshold point that you're at now. I don't know if you really recognize how powerful this is. Like, I sense you're feeling the opposite as I'm describing you being powerful, magnetic. You're feeling, okay, no, I feel completely blocked, hopeless, or stuck. I don't feel powerful. But you do resonate with my words, is what I'm seeing here, that someone is observing you, that things are shifting. That might make you doubt how magnetic you are to live in that contradiction space where you sense people are curious, but you're like deeply stuck. But this is not a mistake that you resonate with my words. So the message today is this. The shift from breaking these contracts has completely changed your energetic makeup, especially these ancestral deep wounds that you've carried for others. Your frequency is completely shifting. The things you used to call in will no longer be attracted to you because you're elevating into something very different, which I sense is a good thing, because the energies that you have historically called forward were not worthy of you. And now you're stepping into much more equal, balanced energy where you're calling forward what aligns with you and what is more of a direct match. There is a radiating quality to your field now. Like, it's just something I can't stop saying, because I kind of just sense total coherence in energy now, because you were able to dismantle this karmic thread that ran so deep. And you might not even know what you did. I don't know if you did anything consciously. It was kind of just pulling you back in ways you couldn't observe in the physical, in ways you just couldn't understand, but you recognize, like, there's something harder about my life, more challenging. It was this. So yes, someone is observing you very closely. I see that is being presented to me again from spirit, but it's not necessarily the point of this message is to focus on this observational energy. This message is that feeling that feeling that someone is observing you is your new normal now, where a lot of different energies are going to be drawn towards you or curious about you because of this deep dismantling shift that you are undergoing and that you are going through right now. The point is, as you keep seeing people gravitate towards you, that's your mirror for your growth and shedding and dismantling these heavy weights that have burdened you. It's basically showing you something. And right now it's showing you a very deep ancestral weight is being lifted. And you're kind of entering this completely new space where people watch you in ways that they haven't before. And you're seeing that, you're observing it. It's more clear to you, right? And in the past, you have not observed this same frequency. So the message from spirit is this: you're carrying a completely new gravitational pull, and it's only going to get stronger as you stay in this integration space. So just allow yourself to keep observing these energies that are observing you. That's your mirror. That's your reflection of this healing that's underway. This last part is maybe a confirmation to those who already instinctively know to do this, but keep leaving comments. The comments themselves do not have to be anything personal about you. Think of these as energetic nudges. This helps me align to your energy more efficiently and be able to channel for you. And I want to be able to do that. I read each and every one, always. None are missed. None are ignored. I am so thankful for each and every one of you and love you all. So, cheers, friends.